Most of you probably already know that. Thank you for joining us. I'm thrilled to have Samantha back with us to do an amazing Glowlights technique, something that she's created, I believe, and I'm excited to hear more about it. The only thing I want to say is next Monday's class at 1 o'clock will be texture shears. We've received a lot of requests from people about texture shears, how to use them, why to use them, when to use them, and we're even going to be demonstrating in the hair so you can see the different techniques and results of the texture shears in the hair. So join us next week on Monday at 1 o'clock, same time, same channel. We'll be here. Without further ado, Samantha, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Have fun. And if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I'll facilitate those questions over to Samantha. It's all yours.
Hi, everyone. I'm Samantha Sellars. I am a brand ambassador for Shark Fin. I'm also a brand influencer for AHP, that's the Associated Hair Professionals. And I am an independent artist and educator coming to you from Los Angeles. Well, the north part of Los Angeles, AKA Santa Clarita, where it is the temperature of the sun currently. So before we kind of get into the techniques and all of that and the demo, I want to really quickly just kind of go over why I developed the Glowlights technique. So one of the biggest requests that I've had after I teach any class or even just on social media, people are always asking me if I know any time-saving color techniques, specifically with foils. And I had developed this one technique that was actually really complicated, did not save time. I tried multiple ways to kind of tweak it and it really just wasn't working. So I pared it down and I tested a couple things out, and what I came up with was the Glowlights. And what I really like about it is that you're getting a lot of impact. You can get blend, it's customizable, it really checks all those boxes. And most importantly, it saves time, it saves product, so you're saving money. And it also allows you to kind of really play with what you want to do. So the big thing is that you don't have to do multiple different sections. Really all you have are just these 4 quadrants, your main 4 quadrants. And the best part is that you only need 5 foils per quadrant. So that just adds up to 20 foils for the entire head. So you can really kind of play with how you utilize it. Today with my lovely mannequin here, we're going to do more of a color melt that's really inspired by like a midsummer tone. So we're going to be kind of bringing the base down a little bit with like a mid-tone and then adding a nice pop of like a warm kind of gold champagne. You can do this with highlights. You can do it with lots of different techniques. You can also, I have a finished version. You can also kind of play with a little bit more fantasy. So for this one, it's the exact same placement. So you can see a finished look, since today we're only doing this one quadrant just to save time. You can see it's this little black cherry look that I did. You have that high impact in the front. And when we get into this front section, you'll see what I'm talking about and how we achieve that. And then it's really nice and diffused in the back with just little kisses of that accent color. So I'll just twirl her so you can see those pops of cherry and how it just adds more and more pigment as you get to the front. And then you get that nice base framing pop of color. So we're basically going to do the exact same thing because the placement stays the same no matter how you do it. But what we're going to do is use a bit more natural tones today. So one of the main things that I always like to kind of start with is my head sheet. So if Willie, you can throw that up there so I can kind of show everyone what I'm talking about. So this is actually going to be perfect. So this is kind of our roadmap for what we're going to be doing. Like I said, we have 5 foils per quadrant, and they're all going to be in the same pattern, which is going to be slice, slice, chunky weave. And for that chunky weave, you can make it as chunky as you want. I usually take really, 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 really big chunks. So you can do slice, slice, chunky weave, slice, standard weave. And your slices are going to be nice and thin. You don't want to take too thick of a slice, otherwise you're going to really have unless you want to, if that's the look you're going to, it's just going to be a little bit, maybe a little bolder than you were intending. And the other important thing to note, as you can see on the head sheet, is that all of our foils are taken at a diagonal back. So everything we're doing is diagonal back. That's going to give us a bit more diffusion, especially with those slices and those thicker weaves. So I'll leave it up there for 1 more minute so you guys can just take a look. But you can also see, which I do want to point out, so in the back, your foils are going to be more spaced out. So just like with that black cherry that I showed you so you can see, thank you, Willie. So you can see on there in the back, those foils are nice and spaced out. So it's really covering that entire quadrant. So
if you in the back, sorry to interrupt, Samantha. If you're watching this and you want the head sheets, you can email me, willie@sharkfinshears.com, and I'll be happy to send the head sheets. Is that okay, Samantha?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I was actually going to ask if that was okay. So people can keep that. This is for you guys to keep. So in the back, like you can see on the head sheets, everything is really, really spaced out. This is going to give you the most diffusion because in the back, we just want that kiss of color. We want kind of like if you think about throwing a stone in just like flat water, and your first ripple is going to be the biggest. That's going to be our front. And then it gets kind of, those ripples kind of dissipate as they go out. So we want it to just kind of be bold in the front and then just really soft in the back. So that color in the back is really just like a memory of that color in the front. So they all blend together and they all work together, but that's not where we're going to have the biggest impact. So in the front quadrants, this is where you can really play. You can keep them really spaced out like you in the back, if that's what you're going for, more diffuse look. Or if you want a bolder look, you can put your foils a little closer together. I like to do my 2 front slices really close together, almost back to back. So that's going to give me a really nice pop in the front. The rest of the foils, I do space out a little bit, but even those ones, just like on the head sheet, they're much closer together than the ones in the back because I do want that impact, especially when we're working with our clients and the first thing they see when they're doing their own hair is going to be the front. So we always want to make sure that that is where we kind of concentrate our energy and have that boldness of color. Okay, so like Willie said, that head sheet is available. If you guys want it, just email him and he will send it to you. But for now, let's get into the fun stuff. So I have 2 formulas that I'm going to be working with today. I have my foundation color, which is going to be the color that I'm going to be bringing down on the base. And then I have my accent color, and my accent color is going to be that nice champagne. So today, and this is something that I actually will be talking about on my social media as well. And if you guys want to give me a follow, you can kind of see what I've been talking about, and all of that fun stuff. My Instagram is For Love and Hair. So I have a lot of clients who are actually having some issues with PPD. So they're having allergic reactions to some of their permanent hair dyes. So what I'm using and have been playing with and actually really like is this brand called Surface. So their color is actually PPD free, and it's a gel, and I actually really like how it's been working on my clients. So we're gonna play with that today too. So for her base, for that foundation color, I've mixed in equal parts the 7N and 8N. Her base color right now is a 6. So having that like a little bit lighter is actually going to create a really nice blend, because her highlight tones or her mid-tones are about a level 9. So this is going to really kind of add a nice, like, kind of melty look, which is what we're going for. And then I'm using the 9WG, which is going to give me that kind of warm gold champagne, and that's going to be for our accent color. So what I'm going to do first, and anytime you're doing two different formulas and you're using either a double bowl or you have 2 bowls, I always like to use brushes that are very different, so you can keep track of what you're doing. So my foundation color is going to be my rainbow brush, and then my accent color is going to be my black brush. That way I will remember, especially if I'm trying to move quickly, what it is that I'm doing. So first I'm going to actually lay down my base color a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just literally go through and just bring that base in about 1 inch to 2 inches, whatever your preference is. And I always like to outline my sections just because I feel like it's a bit cleaner. And then I can also brush it a little bit because I want to have those ends, the ends of my sections, a little diffused, because we're going to be playing with that. So I'm just going to go through and just add my base color. And this is one of those things where you don't need to be precise. You don't need to go in and have it be exactly 2 inches, exactly 1 inch. Because as you can see, like, I'm putting it in and I'm just flicking my brush, because when we put our foils in, what we're going to do is we're going to melt them together. So now we're moving up towards the face. I'm going to outline this as well. Again, just flicking that up. And if my arm is blocking anything, feel free to just yell at me. If it's blocking my face, no one there. So if you are wanting to do this as a highlight, if you want to create more of a kind of sun-kissed look to really kind of introduce people to color, you actually don't need to add a base color. I like to do a base color for my more lived-in looks, just because I feel like it's just gives a different feel to it, and it's more of my aesthetic personally. So most of my clients prefer that as well. But you can do this with no base, no foundation, and just do it as with the accent color. Like I said, it is completely customizable. So you can really just see what is best for each client and how you want to use it. So I am covering her base, even though her base is lighter or is darker than what my color is, because it's not going to affect her base color, but it is going to create that really nice diffusion and melt. So, you don't belong here. Okay, so now that that's done, I'm going to go in with my foils. So, like I said before, our pattern is slice, slice, chunky weave, slice, standard weave. So what I like to do, clean up her face a little bit. So what I like to do is I like to start at the front. Remember, I'm taking that diagonal section and I'm going to do it for the whole section, not really concentrating too far down here because I like she's going to get the most pop up at the top. So I'm going to take my nice slice.
Once you have that, maybe if you could just turn her to the side so we could see from a side shot, that'd be great.
Yeah. So my two slices are going to be in this section here. So I'm going to take my first slice. So because of her hairline, I'm going to turn her a little bit. So because of her hairline, it kind of drops off here. So you have this section and this section. So I always like to kind of take this one up here first, and then I'm going to clip it away because I am going to get to it in a minute, but this allows me to see what is going to be seen by her when she flips her hair up. And you can kind of see the curvature of her head as well. So I feel like that's really important. So this section here, this little bit, I'm actually not going to do anything with. I'm going to focus more on this piece here. So what I'm going to do, and I'm taking a thicker slice here because I want to have a bigger impact. So if you remember when I talked about earlier that you want your slices thin, for this front section, for this particular look, I want my slices to be a little thicker because I do want to have that pop, that impact. So I'm going to take my foil, plop that down, turn her a little bit so you can see. I'm going to take my accent color and right kind of about here. So the top up here still has a little of her old color, a little of the foundation color, and we'll address that in a minute. But first, we can just put our accent color on. And I'm using from our foils. I find that like I've gotten very picky about my foils because the Reynolds foils or some of the other ones, they're just a little flimsy for me. And I'm a little bit of a butterfingers. So I need something that is very sturdy. So I'm going to add a little bit more of my foundation color, a little bit more of my accent color. And then I'm going to take my kinky because it has the least amount of pressure than all my other fingers. And right at that line where the two tones meet, I'm just going to smudge. I'm using really light pressure because I want to create just a really soft diffusion. I don't want to like mush my finger in there. So now that that's done, I'm going to fold that up. Voila. All right. So now we move on to our second slice. So this one I'm going to take a little softer. So because I want to have just a little bit of hair in between. So I'm taking a softer one, but I am taking a little bit from that section here where it was going to drop off. So that I'm going to take so it covers her when she has her hair up. So again, I'm going to take my foil, lay that down. Try her again so you guys can see. Just add a little bit of that foundation. I always like to add a little bit of foundation when I'm kind of working through it because it, as you can see, my foil is now stuck in place. It makes my life a lot easier. So again, I am just working my accent color in. And what's crazy is that we have, this is our second foil for this quadrant, and we only have 3 more foils to go. That's what's so crazy, is that when you think about it, you only have 5 foils for each quadrant. So the amount of time you're spending in each section is just so fast, so minimal. Okay, so now again, they have met, and we're going to give them a little bit more of an introduction together. Like, hi, here's your dance partner. So now they're all mushed. And we can lock these foils in. Okay. And I like to have a towel handy because, especially after you're smudging, you want to just keep everything clean. Okay, so now we're getting into our chunky weave. So for this, I'm going to take down the section I'm going to take the chunky weave from. Okay. So again, I'm taking it at a diagonal back. Oh, what brand of color? It's Surface. This one. So it's a gel color, which I think is really cool. It's just been fun to play with. One of the best things about being an independent artist is that I can play with different color lines and see what works best for me, what works best for my clients. I have like 4 different color lines right now. So for the chunky weave, I'm going to take pretty thick chunks. Think like what was really popular in the 90s, those kind of chunks. So I'm taking my really thick chunks here. I'm going to turn her so you can kind of see as I do it. Okay, so I'm taking my thick chunks. I'm not going to do any teasing or anything like that, but I'm going to keep them nice and separated, get my foil. And I'm going to lock it down with my foundation color.
Could you just spin her a tiny bit so we can see that weave? Sorry to interrupt. Perfect. Thank you.
So for my chunky weave and for the rest of the foils kind of moving back, I'm going to kind of bring my foundation color down a little further than I did in those front two slices. The reason being is most people don't want to have, especially if they want a more diffuse look, they don't want their accent colors or those like pops to be happening kind of towards the apex. We want to keep that nice and diffused. So I am kind of bringing this down. In my standard weave or my slice that's coming up, that I may kind of bring a little higher here and kind of bring down. I'll show you when we get there, but for my chunky weave, I want to keep it nice and about a little deeper than I did on the others. Okay, so now that that's locked in, I'm going to continue adding my accent color. And I'm so excited that, like, as a trend, warmer tones and more lived-in tones are just really kind of exploding. And I'm also really, really digging the resurgence of early 2000 and like 90s trends. As someone who was born in the 80s and kind of lived in the 90s, it's very fulfilling to me to kind of see everything that I thought was cool then be cool now. Okay, so again, mushing. The mushing is very important. And then I'm gonna bring it down a little bit more kind of at the bottom of my foil of my diagonal, just to kind of give even more diffusion in that area. Okay, so I'm gonna lock that up. Okay, so now we're going to go into our little slice. So I'm going to lay down the section I'm going to take the slice from. And for this slice, I'm really honestly just skimming the top. So I'm just going in, actually going to lay her head down a bit so I can show you. Okay. So I'm really just kind of skimming. So as I go through, a good way to like make sure I'm taking the right size is as I take my slice, I can see my comb as I'm going. If you can't see your comb, it's too big. Now, mind you, this is just a slice. It's not like a micro slice, like those really, really, really tiny like strand lights. Yeah, no, this is just a slice. So again, I'm going to take this, lay that down. I'm going to kind of work at a diagonal. So you can actually set where you want to go with your brush. So you can see as I kind of like pop, pop, pop down, I've let, and you can diffuse that a bit. I kind of mapped out where that diagonal is. And remember, it's fine if it looks like a straight line right now or a solid line because we know we're going to diffuse it. All right, so now I'm going to go in. Work with my accent color. So I hope you guys are seeing just like really how easy this technique is. It is one of the reasons why I created it, and kind of the purpose behind it, I guess, was just because I even myself, I was like, I'm spending so much time like with these super complicated techniques that take a million years. And sometimes my clients don't have all that time. They want to be in and out, but they still want to look beautiful. They still want that fun, trendy color. And so this was like a really great medium for them. Okay, so now I have that in, I'm going to diffuse that line. And on a personal note, I love just like kind of I have a son who is in kindergarten or entering kindergarten, and little kids, they get to play with paint, they kind of get their hands in it, and they have so much fun. And I love that we get to diffuse the color with our hands, because that to me, it's like, it's fun, it's playing with color, it reminds you of being a kid. It's playful, and honestly, I feel like it should be playful. I feel like when we're playing and we're having fun, when we're doing what we love, we sometimes create the best colors, the best looks, because we're enjoying what we're doing. So now we're taking our last foil. So this is going to be our standard weave. So I'm going to take this and set it aside. So in each quadrant, you're going to have, and it's going to be about the same width, you're going to have essentially a veil. This veil is going to kind of help diffuse everything. So it's important to make sure that your foils don't go all the way to the apex of your quadrant. My mannequin does not have a straight part, so we're just gonna put that over there, because mannequin heads are different than human heads, unfortunately. Okay, so now I'm just gonna take my standard weave. So little trick, if you have a base color laid down, sometimes it's hard to take your weave from the root because it has color on it. So you can comb this a little bit, and then I'm gonna take my weave. Let me turn her so you can kind of see as I do it. So I'm gonna take my standard weave from about here, because as you can see, it's laid nice and flat. Doesn't have any color separating it. So I'm gonna wipe my comb off a little bit just in case it has any color on it we don't want down there. And then I'm gonna take my weave. I'll scoop you up too. So now you have your lovely little standard weave. We're going to lock our foil in with our foundation color. And just like with all color, you want to make sure it's like nicely saturated. So if you ever want to double check your sections in the foil, a great way to do that is to, if you're applying vertically, you can check it horizontally. So you can kind of go through and see if there's anything. Nope, looks good. All right, add a little bit more there. And a little bit more down here to meet. And then smudge. And I have my left hand underneath my foil just to kind of, as I'm smudging, to really support and make sure I can feel how much pressure I'm actually putting on. So we're going to lock that foil away. All right, so with the veil, because we did put our foundation color on it, we want it to be a bit more diffused. So we're going to take our comb and we're going to comb once, comb twice, and then comb up. Same thing from the top. We're going to comb once, twice, and then comb up. And that's going to diffuse that line a bit. If you think it needs a little more, you can, almost like balayage, you're just going to paint your base and then comb it. See, it's nice and diffused. Gonna really give us that really nice melt. Okay, I'm gonna have her upright. So, which direction this is supposed to go? All right, either way. Taking this out. Okay, so we have our 5 foils. We have our foundation color in between. So what we would be doing is do the exact same thing in this section here and in the back. Now, where you start is entirely up to you and really depends on what you're going to be using. If you are doing highlights with a lightener, then you are definitely going to want to start in the back and work your way to the front. Mostly just because you don't want to overprocess your highlights when you're working with lightener. I typically like to start in the front and work my way to the back because then I can see where my boldest pieces are going to be. And then I can kind of follow the map of where I want them to go and how diffused I want them to be in the back. But sometimes switch it up too. You can really customize it. So you can get nice and close so you can see we have our 2 slices, our chunky weave, our little slice, and our standard weave. And that covers the whole section.
Samantha.
Yes.
So in theory, in each quadrant, the foils would line up with each other, right?
Yes.
To make almost like a circle around the head, just like pictured in the head sheet, correct?
Exactly. And it's one of the reasons why I actually called it a glow light, because if you have ever seen like a halo or a ring light, you're basically seeing like this really, really nice circle of light that you're going to have like brightness, and it kind of creates this like ring, this like really nice ring of brightness or contrast. And so because of that, I kind of called it a glow light, because it kind of worked out that way as far as like what the name was and what the intent was that I was going for. So yeah, so once they're laid in, it's also why I like to, for the most part, start in the front. This is I usually like to start on the side I'm most comfortable with, because everyone, if you're right-handed, you're going to be more comfortable on one side. If you're left-handed, you're going to be more comfortable on one side. I'm right-handed. This is where I'm more comfortable laying my foils out. I always like to start there because then it gives me the best roadmap. So now I can really just go into this side here and match exactly where my foils are. And then in the back, I can also line up where I want those to be, because the back you can have a little bit more room to play, because it's a much bigger section. But essentially what you want is all of your top foils to create that nice ring. So we don't necessarily need our top foils to be all the way up as high as this one, but we do want it to create that nice circle, that nice halo or glow. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense now that you explain it and with the name. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So once we're done here, like I said, I'm only going to demonstrate in just one section because I'm literally doing this exact same thing in each quadrant. And then she's got a process, and I'm going to rinse her and style her. So I do encourage everyone to follow me on Instagram. My handle is For Love and Hair, all spelled out, because I'm going to finish her up, and then I'm going to post the after so you guys can see how she turned out. And then just because it's such a fun, like easy technique, I would absolutely encourage each and every person watching to try it out. If you try it out, tag me, message me, be like, hey, look, I did it. I'll share your work. I will give you feedback if you need it. I just think it's such an awesome little technique, and it's really versatile. So that would just make me happy.
Samantha, thank you so much for joining us today. Fantastic job. I look forward to seeing the finished look. I'll also steal it off of your page when you post it and put it on ours as well. And
Awesome.
For all those who may have came in late, or if you want to be able to revisit this, this video will be on our YouTube channel within the next 24 hours or so.
Yes, and just reminding everyone again that because we did include, especially for people who came in late, I do have a head sheet for this technique. If you would like it, you can just email Willie and he will send that out to you.
Yep, Willie, WILLY at sharkfinshears.com. Samantha,
right,
again, thank you so much for joining us. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Each and every one of you for tuning in, and head over to Instagram in a little bit when I'm done to see the finished look. All right.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Bye-bye.